you for joining us on The Spin Room. I'm your host, Ami Kaufman. Today we are joined by political commentator Gadi Taub, journalist and commentator at Channel 20, Untitled Chapter, and member of the Fatah Revolutionary Council, Dimitri Dilyani. Thank you all for coming on the show today.
Thank you for having me.
Our three topics of discussion today are the terror attack yesterday that left one Israeli killed in the West Bank. We'll then move on to the stalled peace process and growing rift between the United States and Palestinians. And we'll end our discussion with some domestic Israeli politics. Okay, let's start with our first topic. 35-year-old Rabbi Raziel Shevach, a father of 6 from the outpost of Chavat Gilad in the West Bank, was killed when gunmen opened fire on his car. During his funeral this afternoon, there were cries for revenge, and several Israeli politicians have called for turning the outpost into a recognized settlement. So this is our first topic. I want to start with actually something that U.S. Ambassador David Friedman said today on Twitter, very harsh words from the ambassador. Let's read it. An Israeli father of 6 was killed last night in cold blood by Palestinian terrorists. Hamas praises the killers, and PA laws will provide them financial rewards. Look no further to why there is no peace. Praying for the bereaved Shevach family. Let's start with you, Dimitri. What's your reaction to that tweet and to the attack in general?
Yeah, he's speaking up a lot from his president, being irrational, being out of line. He doesn't send out tweets when Palestinian children are murdered by Israeli army. Almost, we're talking about tens in the past 2 months that have been killed.
These are
by
ridiculous numbers. Yeah. Ridiculous numbers.
Look, no, it's true. I can look while we're talking.
Lies, Dimitri.
Okay. I can look. If we're gonna do this,
well,
I can look it up. I'll look it up.
Did the
I'll get back to
Palestinian
you.
Authority, by the way, condemn this attack? Did the Palestinian Authority condemn the attack?
No, they're not allowed.
It should.
They will not be allowed by the people to condemn any attack. First of all, because according to the international law, we have the right to defend ourselves and resist in the occupied territories the way we see fit. I'm personally against the use. I'm against. He's not innocent. He's not civilian.
Let me finish.
Well, I've been always against violence, use of violence as a principle, but that doesn't mean that the Palestinian people don't have the right by the international law to resist occupation any way they see fit.
Go ahead.
If I can just comment, I mean, you were asking a very, honest question. Can the Palestinian Authority condemn the attack? The Palestinian Authority is actually funding those terrorists. Is actually paying thousands of shekels every month to those terrorists and the families of the terrorists. Well, in the matter of fact, today, as a Palestinian, you know that the most profitable occupation you can have is being a murderer and go and murder Jews, because it means you're gonna get thousands of shekels.
Wait, they don't get thousands of shekels when they sit in jail?
350 million in 2017 go in PA funding to the families of so-called martyrs. So not only do you get, we can have a civilized discussion or we can shout.
Settle down.
Promotes its killers. These people, when they get killed by the Israeli army, as a social case, the government, the PNA, has to give
Dimitri,
their family money.
First of all, before we go on, I'm going to have to ask. One sentence before you start. I'm going to have to ask to just keep our tones a bit lower.
You're right.
Everyone, all right?
Dimitri, I just want to ask you one question. You know,
279, the exact number of the people that were killed by Israeli army. That he said when I said tens, he said it's nonsense. It's 279.
This is from your phone.
I want to comment.
This is from your phone.
Dimitri, can I just say one sentence?
In my phone, it's not even 2.
Can I just say one sentence?
It says o'clock and slide just like you always do.
Please let me tell
you know what's the difference between you and me and myself?
You're an occupier, I'm a victim.
You know what's the difference? I'm hurting when innocent Palestinians are dying.
Not doing anything
and you're justifying the murder. You just said we're fighting against the Israelis.
I said I'm against violence, but you chose to hear what you want to hear.
You just justified
against violence, but that doesn't mean you don't have the right to resist.
Let's keep it down. Sir, let's keep it down.
We have to go for a break.
We have to go for a break. We have to go for a commercial break. Sorry, guys. We have to go for a quick break. We'll be right back. Hopefully the discussion will be a little more quiet. Stick around. We're back on the spinner with our panelists, Lital Shemesh, Gadi Taub, and Dimitri Diliani. Gadi, let me ask you, what's your response to what Education Minister Naftali Bennett and Defense Minister Avigdor Lieberman said, demanding today that Chavat Gilad, that outpost, should become a legalized settlement? In their words, that they say that is the best revenge. How should Israel respond to this attack?
Yeah, I think that there's no way to end the occupation now, partly because the occupation is the only thing that's propping up the Palestinian Authority and protecting it from Hamas. But the answer is certainly not settlement. We should work towards a horizon of separation. The one thing everyone agrees on, that we do not want to be one people. And so our horizon should be separation. There is no chance of making peace with the Palestinian Authority. It keeps making impossible demands. Israel will never agree to commit suicide via the right of return. And this is what they're demanding, because what's keeping the occupation is the Palestinian Authority. Because if we get out of there, Hamas will just slaughter them if they don't win.
I wanted to ask you,
if I may add, the reason why Chavat Gilad was established is because Gilad Zar was murdered by Fatah activists and in that area, and they've decided as an answer to say to those terrorists, you're not kicking us out of our land, we're going to build more and more, we're going to settle in our country, and you're not gonna try and kick us.
How will we ever separate from them? Do you want to annex another 2 million Palestinians
I'm just saying that I don't think
citizens of Israel?
I really don't think that the problem is the settlements, because we've seen attacks. We've seen attacks in Tel Aviv. We've seen attacks in Jerusalem.
What's your end game, How are you going to separate from these people? The question is separation, or this will bleed like Bosnia for 100 years.
I'll be honest with you and say I don't know what's the solution, but I do know that at the moment they're trying to kick us out of.
Let's let Dimitri weigh in on this.
No, I think that Netanyahu, after the last election of Netanyahu, Israel has moved to the post-Zionism era. With the decision of Donald Trump, I think that has been confirmed. There is no chance of peace with the Israeli rhetoric, with the right-wing government of Israel ruling, with the continuous
left-wing government.
When you spoke in nonsense, I didn't interrupt
you guys, so let him finish.
And the continuous dehumanization of the Palestinian people most definitely cuts off any hope for the peace process.
Right.
Therefore, I think that we're moving towards one-state solution. We are working to it. We're gathering forces.
This is where we're going.
All right, I want to move on to our next topic.
2 million Palestinians.
Our next topic is this is a good segue to our next topic, and you can respond to that.
You hear that?
Well, we don't know the numbers. Everybody has different numbers. Our next topic is the recent tension between the United States and the Palestinians. By the way, I just want to ask you quickly, is Mahmoud Abbas still refusing to meet with Mike Pence, who is supposedly coming, at least the dates that we have now are January 22nd and 23rd. He's going to. Is that, Dimitri, is that a smart move, since there really isn't anyone else to replace the United States as a mediator in this process?
Look, we look at Jerusalem as the foundation of the peace process with the Israelis.
Right.
Without Jerusalem, there is no meaning for a Palestinian state. Therefore, there is no meaning for a two-state solution. Therefore, there is no meaning for the U.S. to do anything at this point. And given that Mahmoud Abbas had been begging Netanyahu to meet, he had conditions, and then he erased these conditions in a humiliating way.
Can we have West Jerusalem and East Jerusalem? Is that a reasonable solution for you?
That'd be totally fine.
So what's the problem with Donald Trump recognizing West Jerusalem as our capital?
He didn't say that. He didn't do that.
But he said that there will be a later decision on the border in Jerusalem. You should have clung to this and say, here's an American president who agrees to the division of Jerusalem.
If he has recognized Jerusalem as a capital for Israel and the state of Palestine, with them negotiating to determine the borders, that would have been fine. But he totally took us out in his recognition.
That East Jerusalem will not be yours. He never said that.
He never said that.
But you immediately said that the peace process was dead, as if it was alive before.
Exactly.
I'll tell you the history of the conflict. We tried to impose a state on you and failed for 25 years.
Look,
that's what happened.
I totally disagree with you, but I want to let you tell. I want to ask, actually, after the Jerusalem announcement, which the gentlemen are talking about, don't the Palestinians actually have a right to be frustrated at the U.S. at the moment, seeing as maybe Donald Trump could have said in that speech, Israel, West Jerusalem for Israel,
East Jerusalem for Palestinians.
Yes,
He didn't say
it actually made me funny when Dimitri was saying that Mahmoud Abbas was begging from Netanyahu to sit down to the table where, you know, tens of years we're trying to get the Palestinians to the table and negotiate, where Prime Minister Ehud Barak was offering them almost all of their demands. Prime Minister Ehud Olmert, time and time again, we're getting no. So what kind of begging are you talking about?
Oh, well, first of all, nobody has provided us with almost all of our demands. We don't have demands. We have international law. We have UN decisions. We want them to be applied. The peace process was supposed to end in 5 years with total separation between us, according to the 242 and 338 resolutions. That means two states, one.
But I want to ask,
excuse me.
Demanding the right of return. The right of return to Israel.
No,
so it would be two states, both for you.
Look. The right of return in the Arab Initiative, which is rejected by the State of Israel, is simply saying that the right of return according to the international law and what is agreed between the parties. Whatever we agree
No, it does not. It says
yes, it does.
Based on 194. Agreed between the parties based on 194. That is agreed between the parties after we agreed to accept the refugees. So explain to me.
This solves the riddle.
I just want to say, I mean, what I said in the beginning. How can Israel sit down and negotiate with the Palestinian Authority when they are funding terrorists? It's just something that blows my mind.
It's the same question. How could we sit and negotiate with you while your government is the terrorist? Your government is occupying our land. It's killing our children. You are defending settlers that are present in
You can say it again and again. It won't make it true.
I want to move on to another.
It is true according to national law. You live in a bubble.
Dimitri, I want to move on to another topic. The Ministry of Strategic Affairs, head by Minister Gilad Erdan, published a list of groups that it will who promote BDS, the boycott, divestment, sanction. They will not let their members come into Israel. Is this something that liberal democracies do, Vital? Bar people for the... I don't know why you're laughing.
Where's the liberal democracy? It's an occupying state, but go ahead.
It's certainly not in the Palestinian Authority, which has not held an election since 2006.
I agree with you.
Gadi,
I agree with you.
Gadi and Dimitri.
I agree with you.
Excuse me.
To speak in the name of human rights.
Hey,
I agree with you.
Excuse me, but the question, I asked the question of Vital. I asked the question of Vital. I'm losing my patience. I'm losing my patience, guys. I'm losing my patience.
No, but I agree with what Gadi just said. I mean, the Palestinians are the last people who can, you know, lecture us about human rights. Am I allowed to come and live in the Palestinian Authority? No. So how can you even lecture us?
Am I allowed to live back in my grandfather's house anywhere? People in Gaza, can they go back live in their grandparents' houses? Answer.
Can I live in my grandparents' house?
Can a woman from Bethlehem? Can a woman from Bethlehem drive to Jerusalem?
Dimitri, I'm sorry. I can't take the shouting.
She answered.
Well, she wasn't shouting. Why are you shouting?
He was shouting. You didn't say anything.
It's my fault. I'm sorry.
Can we just keep the tones down, please?
If all of us, yes.
I can't control
I told you, if there's a disruptor, it's going to be me.
Yeah, I asked you about the BDS. Doesn't Israel have a right to defend itself from people who are harming it?
This is not a decision that I agree with, but I understand where it's coming from. And it's coming from the fact that under the supposedly neutral guise of human rights, it's very strong groups and EU money is going to the promotion of war, not peace. It's going to the promotion of radical extreme solutions which will annihilate Israel. So we're supposed to sit on the sidelines and agree with that?
Thank you very much. We'll see you in the next break. I'm going to say goodbye right now to Dimitri because our next block is going to be about domestic politics. So we'll just stay with Vital and Gadi. We'll go out for a quick break. We'll be right back with Vital Shemesh and Gadi Taub. Dimitri, thank you very much.